Hey, how's it going? You're now listening to part 2 of the Dr. Jarod Carter interview on the Duck Legs podcast. How you doing? You good? You look good, you sound good, you feel good. Welcome again to part 2. Part 2 with Dr. Jarod. We're gonna hear more about those dirty Texas restrictions, those intangibles to be a badass physio, his hustle, and how much do grades really matter in grad school. So, hope you enjoy. I'm gonna keep this intro short and not talk your ear off like I'm currently doing, so peace, enjoy. Is there a specific mindset or a personality that somebody needs to have or is just born with to take on the cash PT life, or even just to be a business owner and PT?
And again, like the cash PT life is not necessarily the hectic life I lead, because most cash PTs are not trying to have 3-4 different businesses. And once you get the ball rolling, especially if you're fine with being a solo practitioner, it can be a pretty nice, relaxed style of living. I can tell you that. So, but in terms of maybe just having success in the cash PT model, definitely not a personality type. There's a lot of different personalities that do really well in it. But I would say there are certain components of mindset that are very important. And a big one would be knowing or developing the confidence that your services are worth every penny and more that you're actually charging. If you, and this is actually one of the, I have like a series of articles that goes out to anyone that joins my email list, and it's the five characteristics of all successful cash-based practice owners. And one of those is the mindset of the clinician, because it is so important. And a part of that mindset of the clinician article, and people can get that at my website, drjarodcarter.com/success. And the one of those mindset components is, if you don't completely and confidently believe that the $150 you're charging for that hour with you is worth that much, then the patients aren't going to believe it either. You've got, and I do want to say, it's if you're just starting out or transitioning from insurance pay over, don't expect that you're screwed if you don't have that confidence right away. It takes time, but you do need to know that it's important. The mind and the body, or the mind is trainable just like the body, So you've got to remind yourself about what people are actually getting from you, They're going from having difficulty walking, difficulty, playing their sport, difficulty lifting their kid over their head, and your services are getting them back to doing those things without limitations and pain. That is hugely beneficial. And the years and years and years of the majority of the field being in a scenario where people are only having to pay $10 or $20 a session for that hour with them, has really warped our mindset into thinking that it's really about worth that much.
Wow.
And so we've got to, if you're going to change over, you've got to change your mindset as well. It does take a change in mindset if you're not already completely confident in what you're providing.
That's wild. To go from, I'm totally covered, and PT should be totally covered, or $20 copay.
Right.
It's
a big jump. And then, like, on the patient side of things, or the other mindset, or I guess thing people should know, is that when you transition from an insurance-based model to a cash-based model, or if you're just starting out and you're in your rotations, you were just in an insurance-based clinic, and you want to start a clinic in cash PT, or at some point you transition over, that the people you were marketing to or that were coming in before might not be the people you're seeing anymore, right? Because I don't obviously have numbers on this, but I would guess that there's a certain percentage of the population that have the mindset that makes them capable of going somewhere that doesn't directly bill their insurance. There's probably a much bigger percentage of the population who, no matter what you say to them, when you're marketing or what their doctor says, they're going to say, hell no. I pay a lot of money for my insurance, and I'm going somewhere where they take my insurance. And that's fine. I mean, I honor that completely. Those people aren't going to be my clients, unfortunately. But that percentage of the population that is, open to the idea of paying more for a higher level service, they will be my clients if I market to them appropriately, right? And so, and that percentage, I think, is big enough for plenty of cash pay clinics in any decent sized city to thrive. So I guess those are just, I can go on and on about mindset, but those are some big things in terms of mindset in the cash pay PT realm.
Yeah, and to echo that, Mitch Babcock from Michigan, he's on a pod, I don't know if you heard that episode. I talked to him about cash based too, and he said, every other service in the world is cash based.
Right.
There's no reason why they shouldn't grow.
It's just about a change in perception among not just clinicians, but the population as a whole. And it will happen and it's being forced to happen now with the Affordable Care Act. People are having to pay more and more to meet that deductible. Co-pays for PT is going up, and overall just coverage of PT is getting worse, right? Where they used to have 18 visits, now their new plan that the only thing they could afford has a $5,000 deductible, and they get 5 PT visits a year. What do they do, then, right? All of a sudden, that is a cash pay patient until they've met their deductible.
Yeah.
So whether people like it or not, and it sucks. I don't think this is a good thing that's happening, but the cash pay model is actually becoming a smaller jump, a smaller transition than it was just 5 years ago because of the changes we're seeing in the insurance industry. And so I think we're going to be seeing, for that and many other reasons, a lot more cash-based practices. And over time, the population, just like with personal training and massage and a lot of dentistry and plastic surgery and other services that have been cash pay for a long time, PT in their mind is just going to be one of those things that costs more money if you're going to do it, It's going to be more out of pocket, and in many cases it's just a cash-based service. It'll take time, but it will happen.
So will online PT consultation movement assessments be crucial to the success of clinics in the future? So basically just asking, what is PT and health in general going to be held in online stuff?
Can we help people online?
Yeah.
Okay, so your first question, I don't think it'll be crucial to the success of all practices, but I think it'll be an awesome opportunity for those that want to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
And depending on how the laws shape up, you could eventually have a worldwide audience. Right now, as far as I understand it, and I'm not an expert in this realm at all, as far as I understand it, you can't do any kind of telehealth stuff beyond your state lines.
Okay.
If you're not licensed, if you're licensed in Texas and someone in New York wants to do a Skype evaluation with you, I believe that right now is illegal for you to do. So hopefully that changes, the world opens up. And if you wanted to do a lot of online work and just be a solo practitioner and work from home, you could literally build an entire business around telehealth. Obviously, you're not doing hands-on work, but if it's really just like doing evaluations, telling them what you think, is going on, and maybe giving them some exercises and stretches and no manual, you could build a whole business around that. So I don't think it's going to be necessary for success, but it's going to be a big opportunity.
And you see, we see great therapists online offering movement consultations and stuff like that. That's broad to everybody. And I think this guy kind of goes back to this idea of students coming out, should you even label yourself as a PT when you can go as a personal trainer, or some things that you see guys on Instagram like, I'm a stretch therapist, I'm a functional range guy, and I can see anybody I want and do basically what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you don't have this.
But I don't have a practice act.
Jared, I mean, this isn't too serious, but sometimes we've thought about being crazy, so crazy to be like, to take the light. I don't even care. Just, hey, I know what I know, and I'll go make more money not being bogged down by.
So you mean like finishing PT school but not getting licensed?
You just run out of graduation, like, got the knowledge, now let's go open up I'm a personal trainer with corrective exercise knowledge or some.
Just like something wild.
If you get licensed, then as a PT, then you can't take that hat off.
Yeah.
And all just because you're a licensed or you're a certified personal trainer as well. At least this is the way because I get asked that a lot. People who are CPTs, personal trainers or massage therapists. Well, if they don't have a referral, can I just, do massage instead of manual therapy or whatever? And that's a real gray area topic. But what I've heard when I've asked, legal authorities on it is that in general, you will be held to the Standards and Practice Act of your highest licensure.
Okay.
Now, PT licensure, if you've got that, it's obviously a higher licensure than an LMT or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you get called on it, that's likely you're going to be held to that standard and you're going to be in trouble.
Boom.
So, I've heard crazier ideas. You spend all this money and time and get the knowledge and then not get licensed. It's an interesting concept.
Not a good concept, but
if you're here in Texas, it's probably not the worst idea I've heard. If you're in other states with better access, then I would definitely get licensed.
we have a question from Promise.
Yeah.
How do you envision the cash-based model changing due to the looming repeal of the ACA?
I think that's a good question. I don't think it's necessarily going to change the way I do business or many other cash practitioners. If they figure out a way to make to change this trend of insurance premiums, deductibles, and copays all getting higher and harder to manage for the average person, if they can find a way to change that and insurance becomes more affordable and coverage for PT actually improves rather than getting worse, then that jump for the average person to not use their insurance and go cash pay would again become bigger.
Yeah.
And so it may make it a little more difficult for a cash pay practitioner if those things happen. However, because of the nature of the aging population moving into Medicare, they call it the silver tsunami. And I have a webinar online. Actually, it's for sale, so it's not for free. But it shows literally shows the stats of the population that's going to be aging into Medicare, and I think it goes. I don't want to put out numbers right now, but it literally almost doubles in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And we've already seen years where Medicare and Social Security have paid out more than it's taken in, right?
Oh, wow.
And if we look at the average number of workers in the workforce per Medicare beneficiary drawing from Social Security and Medicare, it used to be 4.1 to 1, most workers to, and then in 10 years it's going to be 2 to 1. So we're going to have this massive relative decrease of money going into those systems from the taxpayer, while we have this massive increase of people drawing from those systems, which are already at break even or worse sometimes. So to answer the question, I played the devil's advocate. It could get worse for cash pay if they figured that out. They ain't figuring shit out.
Yeah. There's no numbers out there.
No, even if they came up with the best possible solution, the shit is still going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
It is not going to be good. Don't expect Medicare or Social Security when you guys get older.
Yeah.
You're going to have to take care of it yourself.
Yeah.
Mark my words, 40 years from now. And in the meantime, it's going to be pretty crazy. I don't see any way they're going to make Medicare work in the long term without drastic cuts to what providers are paid for their services. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest payout in Medicare is to the providers.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing that those payments or reimbursements for, say, different PT services are doing nothing more than tracking inflation. They're not, in one case, I think Therex over the last 10 years is actually not even kept up with inflation in terms of what we're paid per unit. So when all that other stuff I just mentioned happens, and they have to start making really hard decisions and really slashing what is going to be paid out to different healthcare providers for our services, what do you guys think is going to happen? Tertiary services like physical therapy
Yeah.
are going to be in the chopping block way before, the medication and the surgeries that save people's lives.
Yeah.
That's just how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I think we're all going to be pushed at least into hybrid cash-based scenarios at some point in the future. And as that occurs on a wide scale and people just start to recognize PT literally is more of an out-of-pocket expense,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be actually continue to be easier for people to make that jump when they're motivated enough to fix that knee pain or that back pain or whatever.
That's heavy.
That is heavy.
That was
I think
heavy.
that's something that so many people that can take away from. What about after the tsunami is gone?
Mm-hmm.
What is that going to look like?
What will be
Go
left
on.
in the wake of the silver tsunami?
So you mean like when not to be morbid, but do you mean like when the majority of this, the baby boomers, when they're old enough, where the majority of them have passed?
Yes.
Well, we'll see. That percentage of the population that are Medicare aged will be smaller. I mean, that's way in the future. We're talking. That's like 40 years from now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't.
Who knows?
Who
what?
knows?
Yeah.
Who
Okay.
knows? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Kanye West will be president and everything is
From that
gonna be
point
great.
forward, it'll be.
Oh man.
We're all gonna have Yeezys.
Oh no!
We're all
Stop
gonna
that!
listen to-
Stop it!
Dude, I'll tell you, if that happens, I honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. But I really, if that happens, I just can't wait. Like 30 years from now, if we, extract this and say, he called it. Jarod called it.
Jarod called it.
Jarod
Kanye West 2024.
You can get on like some sort of committee where you like predict the future.
Yeah,
right?
I
Even
called
though-
it.
Let's see if we can squeeze in a few more, like two
Sure.
more. Is that okay?
I'm down, yeah.
So this is something that you can hear for a few different places, but like, establishing repertoire with building quick rapport with patient buy-in and things like that. You clearly had success off the get-go with it, and this can probably be translated into a lot of different professions, not only just physical therapy, but kind of take me through your mindset of when you're first seeing a patient, what in your day you're really doing it well that day,
Okay.
And maybe even before that, when you get that call from somebody who's, I have this issue,
Yeah.
and where do I go from here?
Right. So I think that this business model actually lends itself well to having the ability to build that rapport much more so than if the same person in a model where you're rushing from patient to patient.
Mm-hmm.
Because a big part of that, whether it's on the phone or in that initial eval in person, really goes back to just listening to the patient, because most of the time patients have come from scenarios where the practitioner just didn't have the time to do that. They didn't really feel listened to. And you might, in many cases, be the first professional, with all your knowledge and degrees and stuff, that actually could look them in the eye and let them tell their whole story. I think eye contact is also important.
Yeah.
So like when you're greeting someone out when you're greeting someone for the first time, man, shake their hand, look them straight in the eye when you introduce yourself with confidence, and just give them that this dude knows what he's doing and he cares about me, and give him a very warm greeting. Then when you get in the room, listen. Write a bit or type whatever you're doing, but like in general, mostly look at them and listen. Look at their body language and try to read the type of person they are, the type of response from you that would be most beneficial for them. And this is something that's kind of difficult to teach. This would be a great question for Ben, because he is an absolute master at, and I've mentioned this in other podcasts that I've done, he's so good at reading the kind of the person he's with and how he should be interacting with them to get that rapport going, to give them the best response. I mean, some of what we do is literally placebo and is very heavily affected by how much that person trusts you, and that's just been proven in studies. So the rapport component of it is hugely important. I'm glad you asked about it. So over time developing, even looking in psychology books and whatnot about how to read people and how to best interact with them. So like to continue that example with Ben is, one patient, I'll hear them cracking jokes and they're cracking up and just hooting and hollering and having a great time. Next patient, total silence, because that next patient needed to just chill out and just kind of experience the hands-on care or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so working on your interpersonal skills such that you can identify, does this person need to talk about emotional stuff? Or is it better for them that I redirect the conversation to their kids? Because when they're talking about their kids, they feel happier, and if they feel happier while receiving this treatment and hearing about these exercises, that connection, that subconscious connection is actually gonna produce a better outcome and better compliance. I mean, it's a really multi-tiered thing. Yeah. But I think it really comes back to, making sure that they feel like they're truly cared for and listened to, and finding the right way to interact with every given patient based on just the vibe you're getting from them and what they're likely to respond well to.
Nice.
And you can't teach that.
It's tough. That's just experience and focusing on learning those skills. A lot of people don't even know about that, and they're just kind of, they act the same way with every patient, no matter what the patient's saying and doing, patient's laughing or crying. Their demeanor is not really
15 sets of 20.
Yeah, it's not changing much,
Did you do your quad sets, Mr. Johnson?
Where was that from? Was that?
I don't know.
That was my technician voice.
Was that in New York?
I don't know. It was.
Yeah, you did your quad sets.
Gotta do your quad sets, Mr. Johnson. But yeah, from experience, when I worked at an outpatient orthopedic clinic as a technician back in Baton Rouge, it definitely feels like that. Like, I forget, there was one therapist and there was maybe 3 technicians on a busy day, and you're seeing that boatload of patients, and you got your sheet and you've got quad sets, and the therapist is over there just typing away notes, and I'm like, all right, is long arc quads, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then you walk and tell them that, and it's just hearing, we see this beautiful warm atmosphere here at Carter Physiotherapy, and it's so easy to see how we can take that time and listen to people and really give them that, this is worth $150, and that's a value deal, right? And this is some good stuff for you.
And just to finish that out, back to the phone call. Now I'm not taking the calls, Mary is, and she knows, and I've told her many times, like, get them talking about their problem. Even if they call and say, hey, I'd really like to come in, I've got my referral, what do you have available today? Yeah. It's like, okay, we can definitely get you in on the schedule, but first tell me a little bit about what you're dealing with, right? Yeah. And that does 2 things. One, it's like, oh, they care. And 2, it gets them focused on the problem. Okay. And if you get someone focused on the problem, they're more likely to carry out the entirety of the solution. Which is seeing you for the entire plan of care, not coming in once or twice and being like, I'm 50% better, I think I can handle it from here. Yeah. But from the start, reinforcing these people not only know what they're doing, but they really give a shit about me. Yeah. We're okay with that.
More. More. Bring more.
I mean, that's right. I've heard your other episodes. It's like, okay. Yeah,
the duck legs and their curse words.
So, anyhow, you're reinforcing that from step 1, getting them focused on the problem, and then focusing on what it'd be like to not have that problem and have a solution along the way. And in that process, you're really listening to them and making them know and feel that they're cared for.
And you've got to make these people want to jump through those hurdles to come see you.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got much more hurdles than, my copay's $25 and there's someone just down the road in network. So it's a different game for sure.
So this is I'm going to the valedictorian question.
Oh God.
I'm going to the valedictorian question. I often wonder, being a valedictorian, being a successful entrepreneur, do you think that there is any correlation between your success in school and business? Is it, hey, that valedictorian, you know what they really are? It tells me that they give a shit. They're the type that cares, that they're not doing stuff last minute. Is that what it is? Is there anything kind of with that?
The valedictorian thing has no bearing or influence on the success that I've had in terms of business, in terms of that being a label.
Mm-hmm.
And for those listening, we're talking about valedictorian of the PT class, the doctoral program there at good old St. Augustine. Of course I put that on my website. You can do that. Yeah.
Hey, so, got me. Hey, look at this guy.
Maybe there have been some patients that they saw that in the about page at carterpt.com and that was the thing, right? Probably not. I would doubt it.
Okay.
Here and there, maybe.
Yeah.
But outside of that, really, I would say there's a correlation between the two, not a causation.
Yeah.
Meaning the things that, the drive I have and the work ethic and the things that would lead to someone being top of the class are the same things that would lead to someone having success in business and whatever path they decide to take.
Yeah. It's not so much the book smarts, but it's just a sign of showing that you are hustling hard.
Right,
right.
You know how to get shit done.
Yeah, and I think also you mentioned book smarts that too. Is really not that important when it comes to having a successful practice because, there are plenty of people who would struggle to get better than C's and B's through PT school, but they're incredible with people.
Yeah.
They get people to be compliant.
Yeah.
They're good with their hands.
Yeah.
And you can, if you forget something, you can look it up.
Yeah.
That's not that important, right?
Yeah.
It's refreshing to hear that.
It is refreshing to hear that.
Yeah.
I got one more for you. Then
Sure.
I'll probably. So when you started opening your business, maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 things that were kind of curveballs that came to you. Like I never knew I would have to care about the thermostat so much.
Right.
Okay.
Curveballs.
Opening. I couldn't believe it.
Why is this Wi-Fi so bad?
Yeah, that's a good one. Things you
maybe it's a hurdle, maybe just something that you're like, I tell you what, this is something that I learned since I tell you what, that's a Nashville coming out of me.
Boy, I tell you what. Hey, Jarod.
Yeah.
Hey, tell us about this drug, boy.
Oh, man.
Offending so many people.
Oh, man.
Never thought I knew this much about law.
Yeah, in the cash PT realm, I never thought I'd know this much about Medicare. I don't, I'm not in network with any insurances or with Medicare, but I know more about, Medicare legalities as it connects to, the cash-based model than, anyone who's actually enrolled in Medicare. So, you never know what you're going to have to learn.
Yeah.
Another curveball happened a few legislative sessions ago here in Texas again. Another nice little restrictive thing for us is that most cash-based practices, if you're not billing on behalf of a patient as an out-of-network provider, if you're just like us, we don't do any billing. We provide super bills and then they do self-claims. Yeah. Most cash practices that operate in that way are not HIPAA-covered entities and therefore don't have to go through all the hoops of being HIPAA compliant. You still protect privacy, of course.
Yeah.
But if you get audited, it's thousands of dollars per per rule broken kind of. It's a big deal if you have to be compliant with HIPAA. Well, a few years ago, Texas decided to make a law that it wasn't about covered transactions or billing. That's a whole other thing. Basically, they made us HIPAA covered entity. They made us basically anyone who handles or stores any kind of patient information, even if it's just paper files, is a HIPAA covered entity in Texas. So that was a curveball. It's oh shit, thank you so much. Now we've got to go through all this other HIPAA expensive stuff and so that was a curveball. I knew I'd already been in both insurance-based and cash-based practices as an employee before, so the stuff with access I already knew about. But those are the main things. Renting space is expensive. I would say if you've never owned or run a business before, like whatever you think it's going to cost in terms of overhead, just double it to be safe,
Gotcha.
because there's so many little things that add up that you just never would think of ahead of time, and they continue to. It's like
The bigger you get, the more you have. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's just like even just little supplies to make things work around the office and make Mary comfortable up front.
Yeah.
And, it's like you have to invest in your employees and make sure they've got all the tools they need, and that stuff it just adds up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Running through those needles and that TheraBand, and I mean, it's all more expensive than you kind of expect. So if you guys are starting to practice, or anyone listening, just when you set your budget, just add 25 to 50% on top of whatever you expect. Make sure you save in advance. Still try to keep your overhead low as possible and avoid as much debt as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Wise words.
Mm-hmm.
Which is actually kind of a little bit opposite of what we've heard, and not saying what we heard is wrong, but there is like a certain thing out there of people being like, hey, all you need is this. All you need is this table, and you're going to be good. Don't worry about the finances. Like, you just need a table and go, which I think is good, but I also think it's good to hear from what you're saying. If you start to hire people, right? Jerry Durham, right? Or you start to hire, that's a bunch of different things start getting called in.
It depends on the model you're planning on following. I mean, if you're going to see patients at their home and just travel around with a table, and that's how I started this practice.
Really?
Then that was the case. I mean, there's still little things that you don't think about.
Yeah.
Little supplies, or the EFAC system that's going to cost you $10 a month, or the hosting that after you get that intro rate for your website goes up, or things like that.
Yeah.
That will occur even if you're a solo practitioner going to patients' homes. So you should still budget for more.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Good to know.
Awesome.
You good, Jared?
Are you good?
I'm
Jared?
good. J-Rod is good.
J-Rod. If J-Rod's good,
But
Jared's good.
I'm good if y'all want to ask more questions. This is great.
I want to know the difference. Was there a point when, because I've heard this statement made before, and I'm only recently thought about this dichotomy. I don't know if that's the right word, but let me stop leading into the question. Being a self-employed person versus I'm an actual business owner. And was there a point when you went from being, all right, I got myself a gig, I'm working, to making that transition to a little higher level?
So it was a year ago at this point, right at the beginning of 2016. Got a bigger space and hired Ben. And that was the transition from solo practitioner to practice owner. I mean, you can call a solo practitioner, they own their own practice for sure. But like you said, business owner, not just a practitioner. Yeah. So that happened a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any mindset change, or just the same as we've already said?
I'd say a couple things for those looking to do that. Let me think here. First, I would say, even if you don't expect to grow big, try to set things up as if it is going to go big. Because if you set things up such that you've got a lot of documented systems in place, and the way you train your staff is consistent, the things that they have to learn, the way that you want every component of the patient life cycle carried out, if that's, if these things are all documented and laid out for your staff, and you can spend a couple years as a solo practitioner doing that documentation, you're going to have a lot easier transition than I did a year ago, since I didn't have it. It was all just like, I just ran it the way I knew how to run it, because it was only me. I didn't have to tell myself to do anything. Oh, don't do it like that. Like, all of a sudden, when you got to start telling someone how to do something, you're telling them 1,000 things, and as you know, I mean, we only remember so much, so you need to have those things that they can go back to carry things out. So I would say documenting your systems is really important, and also trying to get into the mindset that you really can't do everything, and that even if someone can do it 80% as good as you, that's worth getting off your plate if it's not something you have to do. Even, and that'll be forever a struggle. It's very difficult to go from, I've owned the business and run it a certain way, and now I've got to get all this stuff off my plate so I can grow things, and really handing things off and not being totally micromanaging, that kind of stuff. So if someone can do it 80% as good as you, and you don't really need to be doing it, get it off your plate.
Gotcha.
even if it takes more time and effort to train them to do it, you will be happy you did. And that's that's what we're doing now. That's kind of, I'm in the thick of that right now.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
All about the systems.
Yep.
That's what I'm hearing.
In fact, if you guys, I was going to say, the systems and automation course that Paul Goff does it's always available online. But if you want to take it as a live course, it's coming up pretty soon.
Oh, cool.
People can check it out. My affiliate link for that is drjarodcarter.com/systems. And you guys might ask Paul if you guys can get a link to that as well.
Yeah.
You know, did you say you have the website up yet, or
No.
Okay.
No. We need to.
It's all right. You can still set up forwards and whatnot through without a website. I think I could be wrong on that, but anyhow, that I've been really implementing just from like 2 of the 6 modules that I took it over the summer, and I'm still working on those. And so I'm going to retake it and just continue to just chuck away at it and just you know, because it's awesome. It's really good stuff.
Do you have a good Paul Goff accent impression?
No, because my father's Australian, and so anytime I try to do an English accent, a British accent, I just go into the Australian accent.
Gotcha.
And Paul, actually, the bit of a British accent I could do is not the way he talks, because he's up very far north, close to Scotland. It's not like he speaks like with a Scottish accent, but it's very different than the Cockney London, Southern England accent. So I need to work on my Paul Goff.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
that's all right. That's all right. We'll hold that against you, man. That was a lot.
That was a lot.
It's so much to take in.
Yeah.
I'm glad we could do this in person. It's great.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jarod. and any other things you want to plug, or how people can reach you?
Oh, that's it. You know, people can find pretty much all my podcasts and books and everything at my website. It's DrJarod, so Jarod Carter, Dr. Jarod Carter drjarodcarter.com. I was about to give my email address, which I'm not going to do on.
Can't trust the duck legs listeners.
Man, no, there's too much of that happening already. That's my next. I'm so excited. My next in-person office assistant is going to do my first thing is emails. Email, just processing email. I want to get to where I only have to deal with 5% of the email that comes in. That's my goal. That's my 2-year goal.
2-year goal, 5% of the emails.
That'd be awesome.
Smart goals.
Can't wait. Yeah. Yes.
Smart goals. Very good.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
you guys
Facebook
so
Live
much.
there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wonder if mine's still rolling.
Well, all right. Thank you so much again for tuning in and listening to this episode of the Duck Legs Podcast with Dr. Jarod Carter. I'm Jared Aguilar, and I hope you have a good one. Peace.